Hey guys, it's Dr. Tiffany here. I hope you're doing great today. Today was my Monday and it's finally over. I got through the day without any major hiccups, so I'm super pleased about that. Today I want to talk a little bit about relationships, more specifically romantic relationships. Oftentimes we find ourselves repeating the same patterns that we have with one partner to the next over and over and over again. It's almost as if we're dating the same person with a different face every single time. We ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Well, this goes all the way back to our childhood with our primary caregivers. Now, I'm not saying that you're trying to date someone like your mom, but you really are. Or you're not trying to date someone like your dad, but you really are. Okay? This is how the brain is wired. It goes all the way back to our early attachment styles. So let's use a little boy, for example. Let's imagine that his mother was super aloof and he could never be good enough for her, and she was always hot and cold, hot and cold. Okay? So let's imagine he's trying to explore the world. Now, for someone who's hot and cold, not always there for him, do you think that he's going to feel free to explore the world as a child and then know that she'll be there when he returns? Well, no, because she might not be there if she's in and out, right? So he's going to create this attachment where he feels really dependent upon his mother and won't leave her side because he's worried that he won't be good enough or that she'll leave him at some point in time. So guess what ends up happening? In his relationships, he picks women who are kind of aloof, who aren't there, who are hot and cold, who feel that he's not good enough. Why does he do that? Do you think he wants that? No. Is he aware of it? Probably not. You see, our early relationships breed a familiarity with our brain, and it's how our neural networks start to connect, right? So it's kind of the nature-nurture thing. So the nurture is the environment and the mom, but that nurture can also change to nature, rewiring our biology. Now, because this young man finds that these type of women are familiar, familiarity breeds fondness. We're not aware of that. That's been his comfort zone growing up in his childhood. He didn't know a relationship where there was a real secure attachment, where that parent will always be there even if he fails. Or if he wants to explore the world, that parent will never leave his side. So essentially, familiarity breeds fondness in our relationships, and we tend to repeat the familiar patterns over and over again, even if those familiar patterns are unhealthy. They could be maladaptive to us long term. Same thing goes for a woman. Let's say a young little girl was neglected by her father. Maybe he was physically and emotionally abusive to her. That is what wires that child's brain at that particular point in time. It's very unhealthy. So that child, that little girl, that is familiar for her. So she's going to end up seeking this type of relationship going forward throughout her life. She'll repeat this with the same partners over and over and over again, to the point that it could lead to domestic abuse. That's what they call battered wife syndrome. It could go the same thing for a husband. Battered husband syndrome is that they're repeating the cycle over and over again because it is familiar. It's how they're wired. How do we get over this if this is how we're wired? Well, first, it's the insight. We have to stop and self-examine ourselves, kind of get that self-introspection to see what's going on. Why are my relationships ending up the same way? Why am I always arguing about the same topic? Why do I have the same insecurities over and over and over again? Because we're picking the same partner but with different faces. It's kind of complicated but also easy at the same time. So, of course, you can talk about these issues with your psychologist, your social worker, any kind of psychotherapist, and they can hold you accountable. But we don't always have that access. So this is an opportunity to stop and think, what am I doing in my relationships? And how have I repeated those patterns? You can always talk to a close friend, somebody who's a confidant, and say, hey, am I doing the right things? Am I complaining about this new partner, the same things I did in the past? Are you seeing red flags? Should I be seeing red flags? So these are ways to kind of improve our own insight about ourselves and to help our relationships. So that's all I have today for the topic of repeating behavioral patterns in relationships. If you have any questions or comments about it, if this sparks something in your mind, feel free to write it below. And don't forget, everything I say are solely my opinions. It doesn't have to be associated with my workplace or my work environment. Everything comes from my own personal experience. Turning red, blushing. All right, well, I hope you have a great day. Feel free to make comments and take care.